r/ask Reddit. What are teens today not ready to hear? As you get older you just keep realizing how dumb you were last year. Every day I realize how stupid I was the day before. I actually like this because it means I'm always improving. The older you get the faster it goes. Yesterday, I was you. Tomorrow, you'll be me. One day you'll wake up and wonder where that plenty of time to do X went. It will scare the crap out of you. Pink Floyd said it perfect. Tired of lying in the sunshine, staying home to watch the rain. You are young and life is long, and there is time to kill today, and then one day you find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. Being controversial isn't the same as being interesting. Contrarianism isn't wisdom. This shit is rampant nowadays. In the adult world, getting into fights doesn't make you look cool, it just makes you look stupid. And one wrong fight can leave you brain damaged or on trial for manslaughter. When r/watch P was around, it was filled with fights where someone got punched, fell over and hit their head on the ground and then died. So many young people dying over stupid things. Just because it's new to you doesn't mean it's new. I majored in literature in college. I teach now. And I remember 18-20-year-old me being fascinated by how human nature stayed the same from hundreds of years ago. At that age, I couldn't fathom that those old people actually made sex jokes or had certain technologies. Reading across the ages really made me wiser and hip to the fact that humans are basically all the same. We just have different settings we grow up in. Same thing across country cultural lines. I remember when I traveled to India and the culture shock was super jarring. Felt like I had teleported to a different universe. Then when we were driving around Agra I saw a group of teenage boys cracking up and pointing. Those duckers had drawn the most glorious, veiniest dong that I had ever seen on the wall in chalk. Doesn't matter if you live in India, Germany, Egypt or the USA, everyone draws and laughs at dongs LMAO, the great unifier. Putting every aspect of yourself online isn't safe. Nobody needs to know your list of triggers or your address or your blood type. Some Twitter bios are long enough to be in a Star Wars intro. That's how I'm reading them from now on, with John Williams' score in the background. Lol, maybe I could find one of those sites that generate the title crawl for you with your input. One day you too will be old and uncool, and it'll happen faster than you think. I used to be with it, then they changed what it was and what is now. It is weird and scary. It will happen to you. Abe Simpson, more or less. So, I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time. Now, to take the ferry cost a nickel, and in those days, nickels had pictures of bumblebees on them. Give me 5 bees for a quarter, you'd say. Now, where were we? Oh, yep, the important thing was that I had an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. They didn't have white onions because of the war. The only thing you could get was those big yellow ones. You won't feel different when you're older, or have kids. You'll just be you. It's weird. Life as a continued experience is weird. When I was much younger I would always think about all the ways I'd be different when I was older. But I'm still just me. Somewhat wiser and taller. But still the same me I've always been. It's strange. But I think I've enjoyed getting older and growing to know myself better. I might as well be teenage me in a grown-up suit pretending I'm an adult. That's what it feels like sometimes. Everything you do as a teenager will be cringe to your children. Everything I did as a teenager is cringe to me tbh. I, teenager, cringe at myself as I do things. Condoms are for STDs too, even though there are other ways to avoid pregnancy. STDs are the main reason I use them. I'll add that girls can feel just as awkward about using them as boys. Don't be shy and use one. School has a system in place to keep you from falling behind. Life doesn't. Yup, life will run you over if you duck around. And even if you have your shit together, you could be one financial crisis away from losing it all. For ducking, sure. Been run over so many times at this point I propose to the asphalt but still no response. Edit. It's beyond depressing. This is my most upvoted comment ever, but hey. K Sarah LOL. Those are probably not friends for life. Okay. Slim chances for some. This hits hard. Too hard. I lost contact with most of my school friends by now. I am only 30. I'm 21 and only talk to one friend I had in high school still. To the ones who ride the public bus in my city, specifically, nobody else wants to hear whatever TikTok you're watching. Buy some headphones. My dad's a teenager, anything less than 80% is not worth listening to. I figured kids nowadays have earbuds or some shit. If I'm going somewhere where I'm gonna be on my phone or a handheld console like my DS or Switch, I always bring headphones. It's just disrespectful to blast your device's noise in public. Other people are on calls and or talking. Not everybody can be an internet sensation. Somebody has to drive the dump truck. And sanitation is a pretty solid business, too. Yeah, don't believe the guidance counselor saying you have to go to college and then saying something like you don't want to be a garbage man plumber, do you? The garbage man and the plumber make bank with no student loan debt. Please shower. Back in my day you got roasted for being the stinky one. That dong pic you sent got screenshotted and sent to 5 other people. And they're still saving your nudes, even if you sent them on Snapchat and think they can't screenshot without your knowledge. They can. Take it from a zillennial who knows from experience. Screen recorder has entered chat. You're closer to being the older person in any given setting than you think. And by old I mean like 30. Got nieces and nephews just starting kindergarten? Haha. Blink and they're starting college. Agreed. We're having my mother's memorial this coming weekend and it keeps striking me as bizarre that we are now the adults. We went from 1545 in the blink of an eye it seems. Same. My dad passed a few weeks ago and we just had his memorial. Seeing his friends and people he worked with that I haven't seen in 30 years just hit me in the face how old I am now. Just because you ducked up does not mean you're duck up. Building on this, everybody ducks up royally at some point. A sign that you're in the right environment, whether that's personally or professionally, will be people forgiving and working with you to get better. Social media is not reality and your entire life should not revolve around it. I know some adults that need to hear this too. Also, mistakes or anything put on social media can certainly follow you along for the rest of your life. Playing music on your speakers in public areas makes you look like a complete douchebag. Nobody likes it but you. The same applies to watching YouTube or TikTok in public spaces. Just get headphones. Also, no one else wants to listen to your FaceTime call. It is perfectly fine to not know something. It's okay to not know. Stop shaming and bullying people because you learned about something before they did. Social media is not the real world and acting like it is will only make people not want to be around you. Edit. I am not talking about ignorance. I'm talking about laughing when people ask a question in class. The how do you not know that crowd. The mocking of people into never asking another question out of fear of ridicule and humiliation. Tell that to the adults too. Yep. Perfectly fits on the idea of being right because I've lived more. Many don't want to admit that they don't know everything and from then on it's a vicious cycle of stubbornness and lack of knowledge. We adults are mostly just winging it. Hopefully learning from the tons of mistakes we make, but still winging it. I have no idea where I read it, but I once read a lady talking about her childhood and she said something like, I didn't realize when I was little that I was witnessing my parents grow up. It stuck with me both as a parent and as daughter. In hindsight, the best thing I did as a parent was wait until well into my 30s to have a kid. I think it's a good idea for people to sort their own lives out before bringing new ones into the world. Drugs ain't a game. I was a $100 a day crack horse. 12 years sober. I want to scream at all kids, don't do drugs. Being dope sick sucks. Being friends with total losers just because they have crack will bring you down so fast. Sitting in the bathtub crying because you blew away 10 years of your life sucks. It's great you decided to get clean. I am working on that myself. It's a hell of a struggle, but there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel always. You didn't invent that style edit to say, thank you for the award. It's my first and means a lot. My high school age daughter and her entire school look just like my high school did in the mid-90s. They are even listening to the same music. A girl walked past me today in colored, baggy, mid-high rise jeans and I was like, 1993, is that you? Today's eyebrows are yesterday's clown makeup and tomorrow's regret fodder. Today's eyebrows are laminated. Have those thin non-existent eyebrows come back yet? Asking for a friend who has plucked hers to death in the early 2000s and couldn't undo it. Edit. Spelling. Stop self-diagnosing yourselves with mental illnesses. As a therapist, I second this comment. TikTok is not a valid source of diagnosis. It's just young people without a solid sense of who they are yet clinging to anything they can. I fully expect they'll grow out of it. The price of rent and housing they will have to deal with in a few years. Don't remind me, please don't. My kids are 13 and 15. We live in an old farmhouse, 3,700 square feet. Hope I get that right. 350 square meter, and that's just our living area on the left wing. I try to tell them, back in the day they had several generations living together. Even if they don't want to live with us, we could build a place for them on the other wing. Think about how much money they would save. I get independence. I had shitty parents, so I moved out at 16. But we're doing alright. Why would they spend all that money just to have their own place? Anyway, would be a treat to have them around even when they grow up. I get how some won't understand, lol. You know nothing and it's okay. Being 37 reminds of one of my favorite, albeit perhaps misattributed, wild quotes. I am no longer young enough to know everything. It's kinda liberating to realize this. So many more possibilities open up. The smartest people and highest achievers I know, regardless of the field they are in, have curiosity as a trait, and that's why they do well. Early successes at this stage in your life won't necessarily give you an advantage later, but early failures will likely hold you back significantly. Basically, getting straight A's in high school will leave you closer to the mean than failing a number of classes. To add to this, please, for the love of all that is good in the world, do not get caught up in the legal system or get in trouble with the law. If you're in the US, having a criminal record absolutely will ruin your life, especially if it's a felony. Stay away from drugs. Don't drink until you're old enough, and stop doing stupid shit. Focus on school, work, and hobbies. I know it sounds cliche, and even a little lame, but take it from someone who prioritized partying at your age and is now struggling to find work because nobody hires felons. I wish I could go back and stay away from that crowd. Edit. Thanks for the awards. If you're young and reading this, please take what I said to heart. I'm not saying don't have fun, but I just want you to be aware that getting in legal trouble can ruin your life and prevent you from doing a lot of things. Voting, owning a gun, working in certain medical professions, etc. My charges were DWI and possession. I'm in the process of expunging the possession charge, but the DWI will never go away. This was over 6 years ago. I'll add to this, even if you're a good kid, if you hang out with people that are getting into trouble, you'll get trouble as a side effect. An example would be if you're with friends and they like to fight, at some point the people your friends are fighting with will come after you. Cops just see everyone was fighting and now you have a record. That heartache you're going through, it consumes everything now, but it will be nothing but a footnote in the future. You'll rarely think about it later, and when you do, it won't hurt you. It's hard to hear that your pain isn't the worst in the world when you're feeling it, but it does help to know that it won't mean as much as it does in this moment. As a 35-year-old, I can say this: your social life in high school is meaningless. You suck? Doesn't matter. You're popular? Doesn't matter. You will meet new people anyway. You will be 20 and still be an empty sheet of paper. Heck, you can start over with 30, probably with 40 and 50 again, and every age in between. You need to learn the difference between normal teenage neuroses and mental illness. Neurotypical older teen here. Completely agree. People romanticize mental illness and chalk every response they have to a problem up to mental illness. In 15 years you're going to think the kids have gone too far and they're going to think you're old-fashioned. It's okay to be a virgin at 18. Apparently this isn't a big thing for Gen Zs. A few years ago I worked for a university and we got access to the Youth Health Study, 2018. Horizontal ellipsis. The majority of first-year university students surveyed said they were virgins, and even more interestingly rated their interest in sex as low. The stats showed young millennials and Gen Zs had way less sex and drank way less alcohol than older millennials and Gen X. By the way, For the other Zennials out there, 1980 to 1984, the comparative stats basically said we were a bunch of drunk fornicators. Our stats were the worst. 10 years from now, no one will care about how many viewers you had on TikTok. Also, those 10 years are not a long time. It's tomorrow. Seriously though, it may be the millennial in me, but 2012 feels like last week despite having gone through college, 2 jobs, getting married, and having a child in that time span. You're not mature for your age. Anyone who says that to justify wanting to be with you is a creep. I would go ahead and say being mature for your age generally, not just being told that to creep on a child, is actually a bad thing for a kid. Yep, it's often a result of necessity, abusive or neglectful parents, trauma. Lots of bad things tend to force you to grow up too soon. You guys know how the attractive and wealthy kids at school seem to just get life handed to them on a silver platter? Get used to it. Justice is not doled out like you want it to. Comeuppance don't always come to shit people. In fact, if you're willing to be a cutthroat D-bag, you'll probably make a lot of money. All you need to do is worry about being good. Be good with you. Try to help others. But no, you can't change them or the world writ large. Doesn't mean you don't try. As much as you want to be unique, outspoken and be able to be you 100%, it's just not that realistic. As a queer POC millennial, it took me a long time to learn that you gotta learn to pick your battles, read the room, and know that not every space is a space that's made for you. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Cut back on the sugary shit now. Take care of your teeth now. Start working out now. You don't have to be a bodybuilder and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just be active. Now is the time to get out and do a bunch of crazy shit, but at the same time remember that whatever you do now you pay for 20 years later somehow someway. And this can be taken in a good way or a bad way. Don't want to take care of your teeth now? Have fun dropping $30,000 on your teeth like I had to. Not exercising or eating right? Have fun with that quadruple bypass that my father just had. My girlfriend's parents are older than my parents, but because they do those things they haven't had nearly as much hospital visits as my parents have. By comparison, my parents are falling apart and they're only in the 50s. My girlfriend's parents are in their 70s and objectively are healthier. The big difference? Early in the morning. Every morning those two are downstairs working out, hitting the weights and machines for a solid hour or two. Do you want to speed and act a damn fool on the road? Have fun when you have to pay for your own insurance and nobody wants to insure you to drive a ducking Honda Civic for no less than $350. Like me, even my ducking car, it was my dream car and it still is the car I would be driving today had just taken care of the goddamn thing. But no, it started leaking oil and I didn't keep up with it or take it in, and now I have to drive a goddamn Civic when I used to drive a Lexus. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's not your duty to judge others. Just take care of your own shit. Social media will give you too much of a superiority complex, and hanging around people who enable you will duck you up later in life. There are decades when nothing happens and there are weeks when decades happen. Someone somewhere cares about you deeply and loves to see you to be happy. They're most likely not going to be the one. Edit. Change the to they. Their children will blame their generation for all their problems. In short, you are the boomers of tomorrow. Once you hit send, it'll be online or shown to someone besides the intended person. I'm talking about sending nudes or pics. Jobs aren't meant to always be fun or dream. Sometimes you have to work a job you hate to stay afloat. Likewise, turning a hobby into your job isn't always the best thing. High school won't last forever. Your metabolism won't last forever. Practice and develop healthy exercise and diet habits now before it gets harder and with more consequences later. I'm just about to turn 30 in a couple weeks. I am 100 pounds heavier than I was in high school. To be fair, I was super tall and skinny to the point of slightly underweight. And that's after losing 25 pounds since the start of July. I have high blood pressure and elevated cholesterol. I am a father of a 2-year-old that doesn't want to die in the 40-60 range. I also want to live as a good example to her. Another 35 pounds and I'll reevaluate what my body type is like and reset my goals from there. That would be 240 pounds, which I was about 4 years ago. But it would also be a more muscular / trim 240. I'll determine where in the 210-240 range I want to end up and what my body and lifestyle will be like. Running is still hard, but using the elliptical is easier on the knees than it was 25 pounds ago. I want to eventually be able to do the Broad Street Run, 10 miles through Philadelphia, even though I hate running. If my knees don't like it, I'll do something else as an equivalent. As an added bonus, my sex drive I think is improving, but nowhere near what it was when I was in the 220-250 range. I don't think it's 100% related, but maybe it's more than 50%. Not everyone needs to go to college. High school is probably the easiest thing you'll do. In addition, not everyone needs to go to college right after high school. Take some time off, join the workforce, travel, party, build a social group, figure out who you are and then go to college. It will always be there, but you're only young once. And if you go with a bit of life experience under your belt, you'll probably have a better idea of what you want from it. https://fairhill.com Changing America in Richmond Arts Culture /3,614,182 1 in 4 Gen Zers plan to become social media influencers 1 in 4 Gen Z plan to become social media influencers. You won't become one. You'll end up a forklift driver or hairdresser like we did. But chase your dreams. Everything in your life right now is a trial run. High school is meant to teach you how to learn, how to communicate, and how to deal with other people. That's it. High school doesn't last forever and it doesn't really mean anything. You most likely won't marry whoever you're dating right now, and that's okay. Most romantic relationships you have will probably fail because you are young and you are both learning how to communicate and figuring out what you need in a relationship. Enjoy this time of awkward growth. It's the last time you'll be able to be a kid and not have to worry about adult issues. Unless you're unlucky and were dealt a shit hand in life. Be humble, patient, and kind. I'm rooting for ya. You're probably not going to get to play video games for a living. Life lived mostly offline is really worthwhile. You're not supposed to create a safe space to isolate from everything that triggers you. You're supposed to expose yourself in controlled ways so you can improve your coping skills. You spend too much time on social media, and it will negatively impact you and life. Your parents were hip and cool before they had to pay your bills and feed you and buy you the cool clothes so you can impress the friends you'll forget about in 10 years. Everything doesn't need to be normalized. Wear earplugs at concerts. Seriously, loud music is great, but so is being able to hear when you're 30. I don't know how to explain it, but that backhanded thing they do where they use sarcasm disguised as a compliment is bullying. I really have no idea how to explain exactly what I'm talking about. I especially see it online, and mostly on apps like TikTok. It's almost always aimed at someone who looks or acts weird. I think a lot of teens don't see it as bullying because it's not very obvious. My younger sister started doing it, but at the same time, she's the type to advocate for victims of bullying. Pissed her off when I told her that she is a bully. Edit. Really glad to see that people understand what I'm trying to say. Someone described it as nice nasty, if that helps. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.